there's one mindset and philosophy says a jack of all trades is a master of none. You have all these different skills, you don't master shit. But then there's the Jim Rohn philosophy that says the more skills that you have, the more people you can help. Somebody can be a jack of all trades and still do it with greatness. It raises your valuation as an entrepreneur. So things that you do at the job that do translate over into remote work, you can immediately become a consultant and do that for a lot of people, right? You don't have to be at just one company.
All right, what is up, everyone? Tom here, back again. In this one, I'm joined by a very interesting guest because you have been on plenty of different talk shows and speaking events like TEDx. I saw you were on, which is really cool. And I know your big thing is all about personal branding. So we're going to keep this conversation centered around how you guys, as the audience, can use personal branding to stand out as an entrepreneur, as an intrapreneur, whatever you're kind of up to. Use personal brand to your advantage to get yourself into the right environments and right opportunities. So thank you for joining me. Is it Cauvee? Cauvee? Not sure.
Cauvee, yes, Cauvee, the inspiration engineer, man. I'm extremely grateful to be here. I'm excited to share some wisdom with everybody. Hopefully, there's some nuggets going to be dropped here.
I love it. I love it, man. So I think the best place to start is tell us a bit about your experience with personal branding and how you kind of fell into that field, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to just the story so it has context leading up to what I do now and who I am as a person and as a brand. I had a unique situation where I say my father used to give me hero speeches, right? From the time that I was 5 years old to 10 years old, my dad would say, son, anything you want to do, you can do. Anything you set your mind to, you can accomplish, right? And around 10 or 11, at this time, I'm already writing poetry and things of that nature. We go visit one of my cousins, and my cousin was one of those people you hear about who writes a song and then a celebrity, well-known celebrity, steals the song. So he was my first mentor. And as that mentor, he had me in the studio and he showed me all his R&B music. And then he goes, "You want to make a beat right now?" I'm like 11 years old. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." Oh, by the way, is this a PG show or is this
No, you can swear all you want, man.
Okay,
we're unfiltered here.
Yeah, I'm like, of course, right? I'm like, of course. So I started hitting the pads, doing all the things. And I had a Tony Robbins moment, like peak state moment, absolute certainty. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I knew it just like that. So made a song, did this whole thing, just had, time just, it felt like I was there for 2 minutes. I was there for like 3 hours. I go to my dad the next day. We're playing basketball on the driveway. I said, Dad, I figured out what I'm going to do. I figured out what I'm going to be. I figured out what I'm going to do with my life. And my dad's like excited. He's like, "What is it, son? What are you going to do? What are you going to be?" And I was like, "I'm going to be a musician." For those of you that seen the Disney movie Coco, my dad was like, "You can't do that." And it wasn't one of those like reverse psychology, "You can't do that." He was serious, like, "You can't do that." So fast forward, I created this song around age 15, 16 called Bob Your Head. And just my love for making music, my love for doing it, I was showing everybody at a campfire. And this is pre-social media, this is pre-MySpace, all those things. And it basically went viral in my hometown. Everybody was just like blown away that this student that they know made a song and they loved the song. So I became locally famous at age 18 right away, sold out a concert of 1,209 people, made the high school $12,000. I didn't make no money. It was kind of crazy. But as a whole, we'll shelf that part of the story. Fast forward, that was like me wanting to prove my father wrong. So I did a follow-up concert to that because I didn't make any money. And for those that follow hip hop, your Master P's, Jay-Z's, 50 Cent's, Lil Wayne's, a lot of these guys sell cocaine or some type of drug to get venture capital. I didn't want to do that. I think that's the weakest. Like, you don't sell drugs, you offer it. Like, it's not sales, it's you offer drugs. Like, hey, you want some weed? Like, I mean, you don't sell it, you just offer it. So I was like, I don't respect that. I'm not going to do that narrative. So I went to do a follow-up concert. We sold 300 tickets out of 3,300 tickets. And it was like the thing that was like, okay, like, I'm going to make sure everybody knows my fucking name. I called my dad and I was like, "Hey, I'm dropping out of college. Everybody's going to know who I am." Like, that was just like that. So fast forward, this is like 2005. Um, Fast forward to 2010, and like I said, the story is very in depth. But 2010, I started working at University of Phoenix as an enrollment counselor, and I helped this lady named Melissa Briscoe get her associate's degree. Now, next to that first concert, there's a quite gap. You got 2002 all the way to 2010, 2011. I had my biggest win in life was like helping this lady get her associate's degree. I never felt such accomplishment because I helped her do this. And that's where my love for just coaching people and helping people and like inspiring people, holding people accountable came from. Fast forward again, 2016. Mind you, I worked a lot of sales jobs over this time. Like I worked for 33 companies, Google, Dish Network. I work for a lot of them. Always being a top performer, sitting with top performers, figuring out what they do, how they say it, reverse engineering it, put my spin on it, make it mine, do it. Okay. So fast forward to 2016, I felt I could teach somebody to do that. And I helped one of my first students break six figures. This was under the Cauvee name. His name was Alexander Campbell. He became the top selling person at Zillow, broke six figures. And that was like, I'm a coach, like I have arrived, right? So now in 2016, I'm starting to get confused because the world says there's two narratives. And are you a basketball guy, Tom? Do you follow basketball?
Not really. No, no. I know
All
you're
right,
like
all right.
hella
So
into it, right?
it's all good. I'm going to use this analogy anyway because it makes sense, right? And I use basketball in this way because principles never lie. It doesn't matter what it is. As far as if it's a good principle, it's a good principle, and if it's not, it's not. There's one mindset and philosophy says a jack of all trades is a master of none. You have all these different skills, you don't master shit. Okay. But then there's the Jim Rohn philosophy that says the more skills that you have, the more people you can help. Okay. So you got Dennis Rodman. A lot of people know Dennis Rodman. All he does is rebound. That's all he does. He don't do shit else. He rebounds. He changes the whole game because he's a rebounder. He's a specialist. That's what he does. Then you got somebody like a Draymond Green. He's the voice of the team. He does a lot of things well, setting picks, moving passes, getting rebounds, scores a little bit. He's the heart of their team, but he does a lot of things well. So that shows you that somebody can be a jack of all trades and still do it with greatness. So I was having this real situation. This was a real situation. I'm an audio engineer. I'm a poet. I sing. I rap. I'd already been putting on events. So I'm an event producer. I'm a salesperson. I was doing a little bit of marketing at the time. So I'm like, and the list goes on to some skills that I had. And I'm like, I'm a coach. I don't know what the fuck I am. I mean, I really was like, it was a big thing. I was like, I don't even know how to define who I and what I am. Okay. So I go to my community. And my community at that time, it's like about 40,000 in total now through all the platforms. At that time, it was probably about 6,000, 5,000. So I go to my community. I'm like, hey, I'm on Facebook. Guys, I got a problem. Like, serious problem. Here's all the things that I do. And I had the whole list. Okay. What do y'all think that I am? And I started coming up with my own titles. And when I started coming up with my own titles, they were like, and there was 10 titles. There was 10 different titles with all the skills, but 10 titles to choose from. Out of the 10 titles, they chose 5. We went from 5 to 2, 2 to 1, and inspiration engineer. They're like, you're the inspiration engineer. Stamp it. I'm the inspiration engineer. All right. Now then fast forward from coaching, when you mentioned like the TEDx stuff and things of that nature, from 2016, really got into personal development, started figuring out how tech companies build Facebooks of the world, started understanding venture capital and how that moves to a more entry or level or lower level of understanding, but just understanding it. Going to tons of events where people are raising money and doing their decks and pitching and doing all that stuff. To then fast forward to like 2018, 2019, running a social media agency successfully and being able to do that. Then having a video agency, being able to do that. Fast forward again, my thing was, as I'm building my own empire, Cauvee is an empire, okay? The marketing that I got to do for my clients is the marketing that I got to do for myself. The video that I got to provide you as a video agent to give you video, I also got to do for myself, music videos, content, whatever. So I was taking 3 to 5 different pillars within the empire and moving them up one step versus taking one solo niche or one focus as a specialist and moving that up 5 steps. right? Which is the way they say to do it.
Mm.
Okay. So fast forward again, started getting into high ticket coaching, learning about that, mastering what that is like, and then wanted to do the speaking thing because now I have all this wealth of wisdom that I can share with people. And the last thing I'll say was I was in a mastermind with a guy named Coy McDermott, and masterminds are supposed to be very empowering, very supportive, very fill in the blank. He was a paid speaker getting 5K a speech at that time. And I said, hey, bro, I was like, I seen this TED thing. I think I want to be a TED speaker. And he goes, Cauvee, you can't do that. And I heard my dad, bro. I heard my dad in my head. I was like, did he just tell me I can't do that? And I was like, bet, it's on. That's what I'm going to do. And so that gave me the inspiration. And then fast forward, there was a lot of little assets like getting in PR and just started what I'm if there's one thing that I'm a master at is loving people, networking with people. I'm a master networker when it comes to just loving people and figuring out how to build and win with multiple people. So I just started just getting more assets, celebrities, influencers, NBA athletes, PR platforms, TV agency, being able to put somebody on ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, being able to put somebody in men's health. And I started going down that path with the high ticket. And you got the TED Talk, university speaker, PR firm now, right? And so that just was the path. And so I've just been on this momentum, inertia, moving to where I'm at now. And that usually is where people are like, so what do you do today, right? You're doing all these things, but what do you do today? And I'll share that with you, and then I'll let you go ahead and ask. The one thing that I've never done is raise venture capital. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a fund for multiple companies in a portfolio, and I'm going to raise a significant amount of capital where we're talking about, multi-million dollar fund. So that's where I'm headed, but that's the past and this is the future.
Nice. Wow, man, that's such an interesting story. And it's like so cool seeing all the twists and turns that things kind of take in life, and that's just how it goes. You always try new things, you go down pathways you never thought you would. I love that, man. I love that. And I think I totally agree with you. I think you can do everything to a higher standard if you do it in the right way and you balance things well. You don't have to be like a master of one specific thing. I think you can kind of balance multiple things and package them up in your own unique way. And then that's what makes you you, right? And that's like essentially what kind of makes your personal brand is like this unique flavors of things that you bring together to become you, the authentic you, rather than just picking one thing and operating in a saturated market. Like, let's say, for example, you're becoming a dentist in a busy city. Like, there's already 101 other dentists that are already experts in their field that have gone up the ladder to get to the top. So you're competing with that. Whereas if you become a dentist and this and that, you have so much to play with that makes it a bit more unique. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting perspective. I really like that. But
Well,
how
I want to add something for your audience really
Mm,
quick, and this is really huge for those that are entrepreneurs. And then we're going to talk about entrepreneurs in just a moment.
mm,
So if you're an entrepreneur, don't do it too early.
yeah,
That's where you can fail. You want to do the one, systemize it, automate it, launch it, do the next one, right?
yeah.
Boom, get that systemized, get it tight, we're past MVP, building a minimum viable product. We're past that stage. You've already did that. Now you've got 1,000 customers or 1,000 people that know your shit's dope. Okay, cool. Systemize it, automate it, launch it. Boom. Next. Go to the next one. Be on the business, not in the business. Okay. For entrepreneurs, I want them to know this, and I'm going to use my chiropractor here in Mexico now. So I'm from America. When you go to a chiropractor in America, they give you a chiropractic adjustment. That's what they give you. Okay. And usually they charge about 64 USD, 76 USD, somewhere around there. So the guy here, you go in, he gives you a massage first. Then he does cupping. For the people that know what cupping is, they put that little suction cups on your back. Then he does this like drill thing that like beats your tendons in the back. It feels amazing. And then he does the chiropractic. And he does all that for what's $37 USD. It's the best service I've ever had for an hour.
Yeah.
You get the whole hour service. So as an entrepreneur, and that's more entrepreneurial, he's not the owner of the chiropractic care. He's just an employee, but he knows different skills that he's brought in to
Yeah.
give more value on the service. So again, don't be trying to do all these different things at once. That's not going to work. Let me save you
Yeah.
time. It never works. Don't do that. Master one, and then once you've mastered it, and when I say mastered it, like you can do it in your sleep, and you're going to be able to make somebody successful in your sleep. Then go to the next one, and so that works for an entrepreneur or author.
Yeah, 100%. And that's such a great way to make such an amazing offer and service is like value stacking it, right? Like there's a place here in Vietnam where I'm at. They do a massage, but they also include the sauna and the cold plunge for free. So like when you go there, you go have a sauna, then you do the cold plunge and the sauna for a bit, and then you go have your massage afterwards. And it's like adding those extra things in, plus like all the fruit platters and stuff they have after, like you have all these different things that add to the experience and makes it like so much more unique than just going to a random like place down the road and paying for a massage. So it's
Exactly,
like
and your leader, right? Your leader, aka boss.
yeah,
Who do you think they're going to look to promote first? That does a lot of shit, or somebody that doesn't do much shit. So if you can help the team, you can do a lot more shit on the team than
yeah,
just one person that can do one thing, and you've got leadership skills or managerial skills. Who do you think they're going to look to first that show that they put in the work and the time and the effort and can do more for the company?
that's
It
it.
raises your valuation as a entrepreneur. So
Exactly.
that's the key. The differentiation, it raises the valuation, and then as a customer service component, your customers are going to love you because you can give them more value for less time, or
That's
or
it.
more value compounded in one bit of time. If that makes sense.
100%, 100%. So I believe this. I believe that everyone, even an employee, is an entrepreneur. They just don't view themselves in that way. Because at the end of the day, what is an entrepreneur but providing value to the world, right? In their own
Yes.
unique spin-off way, whether that's a business, there's like different freelance models, you're like an entrepreneur, whatever kind of way you bring value to the world. Even an employee working for a company is providing value to that company in some way, shape, or form from the skill sets that they have and they're offering. So like I think the biggest shift that I'm trying to kind of help people with is looking at work as an employee, not as necessarily just an employee, but more so an entrepreneur, an intrapreneur, whatever you want to call the term, but thinking more for yourself in terms of how can I actually leverage this a bit more and work this opportunity in a way where it's not just me working my 8 hours a day in a job. Like how can I be a bit more smart about this? So yeah, I'd love to talk more about like the personal branding side of things and how that kind of helps people get into the right opportunities firstly and network into those places, but also maybe any other kind of ways you've found personal brand to make a big impact in someone's life and career.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come circle back to that. I want to touch on something really important on what you just said,
Yeah.
because I agree with you. Me and my mom have had this conversation many times over. Okay, she's like a senior director in HR, right? So no matter what role you do, I shouldn't say no matter, but majority of roles translate over into remote work. Majority, not all. Go work in a factory, you got to be there in person. You work at a brick and mortar place, you got to be there in person, right? So that's not what I'm talking about, guys and gals. I'm talking about just things that you do at the job. Okay, so things that you do at the job that do translate over into remote work, you can immediately become a consultant and do that for a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to be at just one company. And so I've been trying to get my mother on board for that for years, bro, for years. And I think where there's a disconnect for a lot of people, and it comes from, in America, companies used to offer a pension. So you work for so long, then we provide a pension, and now that's the way it works, right? So there was this loyalty factor. And I think people think that if you work for a company, it's more safe. And I use this very important, safe. They can fire you tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make it more safe. People get let go of like that, like in an instant. So it's not necessarily more safe. The perspective is it's more common.
Yeah.
It's more traditional. Okay. There's a difference between common, traditional, and safe. So everybody assumes going out and being an entrepreneur, you got to build all this business, you got to do all these things. Not if your heart ain't in that. If
Yeah.
your heart's not in that, don't do that. You could just be a freelancer, go on like an Upwork type of site or any other freelancer site. I don't know if you have any sponsors, so my bad if you do. But any other the sites that you can get freelance work and you can go find clients and just do what you do now, what you already do. So I wanted to touch on that. And going to your question about personal branding. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. Globally, do you think there's anybody in the world that doesn't know? Maybe somebody in maybe the jungle or some shit, but it's people that live in cities. Do you think there's anybody that doesn't know Coca-Cola?
No, I mean it's
Probably
it'd be a
not.
very small percentage, very small
Very small
percentage.
percentage. Now, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Is it quite often whenever you watch TV or maybe a sporting event or whatever, how often do we still see Coca-Cola commercials and everybody still knows who the fuck they are?
They're still advertising, even though everyone
They
knows.
still advertise all the time and everybody knows. Okay, boom. That tells you the power of branding, just branding, period. You want to stay top of mind because you want people to always be thinking about you as a company or as a personal brand. Okay, that's number one. That's the power of branding. Number two, personal branding can help you in a lot of ways. And what I like to do is look to unique personal brands so that personal brands that majority of people love and use those as examples as to what's possible. Okay, so let's first off start with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart is a comedian. He is known for being a comedian. Okay, but as he grew and evolved, he started Heartbeat Productions, which was an agency company. It was a kind of like a video and it was like a video and just a production company. Okay. Then he went and did a partnership, and the sequential order may not be right, but all these things happen. Then he set up a partnership with Nike, and he's got some kind of health factor. Then he set up a partnership, I think, with NBC and did a show. Then he had another one for athletes that sit in the cold plunge tank, and they do that one. So now he's got that show. Then he started, and this was the most recent, and it failed, actually. They just closed it. But he started a vegan restaurant, and it was a vegan chain. Okay? That's one. Put that to the side. Then you got people love The Rock, men and women alike. They love The Rock. What did The Rock start out as? He was just a wrestler. Then he became an actor. After he became an actor, then he got into clothing because now people are wearing the shirts with the bull on them. So now he's merch. Now he also has a skincare line. And he has a tequila line. Mm-hmm. Boom, put that to the side. He's a personal brand. The list goes on and on, okay? You can talk about the Shark Tank folks. You can talk about Mark Cuban, Barbara Corcoran, Daymond John. We can go down that list and talk about all the companies that are in their portfolio as a personal brand. They are venture capitalists that are a personal brand of a investor, and then they have 50 to hundreds of companies in their portfolio that they invest in. And that's one of the things that they do, right? You got Mark, who recently just gave up his ownership as the owner of Dallas Mavericks. He moved direction, pivoted. But my point of that is he did that. So in my opinion, let's go on with this. Are there more celebrities or are there more corporate brands?
More corporate brands, right?
I don't think so. You only got so many corporate brands that everybody knows. Apple, Google, Coke, Pepsi.
Yeah. Of the bigger ones, for sure.
The bigger ones, you only got so many.
Yeah.
When it comes to celebrities, to me, you got way more celebrities, even A-list, B-list, and C-list.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I mean. So like somebody from there's certain shows I'm trying to think of a really well-known C-list. Okay. He died recently, but he just came to mind. John Witherspoon, the dad from the Friday movies. Yeah, boy, right? Funny, everybody knows him. But he's not somebody that like he goes to Vietnam and everybody's going to just crowd him. I met James Marsden in person, and I was asking him like, what's it like to be famous? Like, and he was like, well, it's kind of cool. He's like, not everybody knows me. And when I met him, he had all his luggage and he was standing outside Austin, Texas. He goes, I'm not Drake. He's like, so I don't have the problem that Drake has. And I was like, okay, right? So there's different levels. But here's the key to your question. Once you have influence, that's the word. Once you have influence, you have power. Good and bad. That's a good and bad thing. But once you have influence, what happens? You attract more opportunities. Because you have influence, because you have power, people want to work with you. They associate success because they see you doing what you're doing. You mentioned the TED Talk piece of the resume. People associate, okay, success. I want to do that. So now people will reach out to me like, hey, I would like to give a TED Talk. Can you help me? If I'm offering it, yeah, sure. But you see my point. The more things that you start doing as you build your personal brand, this works intrapreneurially, and entrepreneurially. In the intrapreneurially world, you're getting certificates, you're getting validations, You're getting customer testimonials. You're getting, if you're smart, you're getting managerial testimonials as you're going along, validating what you do. You're getting skills. You're adding boom, boom, boom. Again, the more that you're doing that, the more you're going to set yourself, if you want it, in the space to be promoted. If you're putting in the work, putting in the time, doing all that stuff. Entrepreneurially, the more you do that, the more people want to vibe. And you guys have heard your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I connected with Tom here because he has a good vibe, has a good energy. I felt it from Mexico. He's in Vietnam. So that's my point. You know what I mean? People want to be around people that are on like minds. And when people look at things that are successful, they're looking at what have you done, and those are the things that they attach to make a decision whether they want to work with you, whether they want to invest into you, whether they want to buy your products and services. So ultimately, we're talking about the bottom line. We're talking about sales. We're talking about sales, money, and opportunity. So if you want more of those things, it may be wisdom to go ahead and build a personal brand.
Absolutely. 100% agree. It's so valuable having personal brand. I've been really focused on personal brand since the last 6 years, and it's had massive impacts in my life. Just the way you position yourself and show up in the world really attracts, like you said, attracts your tribe. It attracts people who like what you do and want to do the same thing. And I think that's so powerful to have, not just as an entrepreneur, but even when you're looking to get hired for companies or certain roles, like having the ability to do that as well. For example, like just the simple act of having your LinkedIn optimized. Not many people actually do this. I'm surprised. Like, not many people actually take the time to optimize their LinkedIn for what they want. Like, think about what you want. What job titles, what job roles would be like the dream roles that you want? Like, actually optimizing your LinkedIn profile to show why you are the best fit for those roles, right? That goes a long way in like your journey of actually attracting those opportunities. Like, my profile now on LinkedIn, it gets me about 3 to 5 job offers per week. Just people in my inbox messaging me like, "Hey, I'm looking for this role. Like, are you free?" Like, and I've got so many consulting roles and gigs from that as well, not just like jobs. And so that's the beauty of being able to position yourself as more of like that expert, like you're saying, which is really powerful. So maybe let's talk about like, what does that actually look like for people in practice? Because it's like everyone's probably heard of personal branding. It's so important. Like Coca-Cola does this and that. Like it makes sense in theory, but what's like, I guess, the tangibles that kind of bring personal brand to life and actually give people these benefits?
I love that. So you first and foremost have to think differently about your for those of you that play Sims or know the game Sims, you're an avatar in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start thinking about how your avatar shows up because you want to show up like a business because you're showing up like a brand, right? So, as far as tangibles go, not to overthink it, let's first off go back to what I said about skill stacking. I'm going to give everybody a really phenomenal skill stack right off rip. Okay. This is my personal belief. Everybody should have these prerequisites. If you go to college, you got to get prereqs, right? These should be your prereqs. Number one, public speaking. Why public speaking? Because 75%, I think it's 75 or 85. Actually, it's 85. 85% of men and women across the world do not like to public speak. They would rather die. That is a fact. So if you are a great orator, which is also means you're an effective communicator, which also means you're a great listener. Those are 3 in 1 as a good communicator. I should say communicator. If you're a great communicator, you're going to be automatically 15% ahead of the market right off jump. Okay. I personally believe every single person is a salesman. Why? Because you want to go on a date. You're trying, hey, babe, where we going to go to dinner? Where we going to eat? Right? You're trying to sell an idea. Everybody's selling an idea. You go to a job interview, you got to sell yourself. Everybody's selling. So the second skill that I think people should master is sales and really learn it well, because the art of asking the right question at the right time is a phenomenal skill to have. Okay. You get a lot more people to say yes to you when you have that skill. Right. The third one is really understanding marketing. And why do I say those 3 things for somebody who wants to code? Let's say you do coding. So why would I want to learn that? Every business has to do marketing and sales. Not every business has to do coding. So the more that you understand the foundations of what make a business be successful, the better you can be in alignment for a business that doesn't do code, which still might present an opportunity where you might want to do some work or do the opportunities you never know how they're going to show up. So it allows you to be more open with how an opportunity could show up, even though you may not want to code there, right? So those three things as a prereq. So let's first off say that. So now we're going to fast forward. A person has now built their stack. They've got a good stack, whatever that stack is. It don't got to be that stack, but they've got some skills. Okay. How many companies have you worked at, or how many consulting gigs have you done? How many? Boom. Okay. So you've got somebody that's starting from scratch, brand new today, and somebody that's got, X amount of credentials already established. So let's do both. You're a rookie. I would tell you to do some volunteer work, which might be discounted work, to start building a resume. Okay. You got to start somewhere. Everybody does. So if you're doing it as a freelance consultant, or you're doing it on as an individualized basis, not with a company, start getting work so that you can build a track record. If you're not doing it as a freelancer or a consultant, you need to go get hired. So step one is go get a job somewhere, right? Okay, now fast forward again. Now you've worked for either a couple companies, or maybe you're at one company, you're there for a long time, or I guess we got three people here, or you have worked for multiple clients as a consultant, right? So now you got a track record. Okay, you want to validate your track record. You work for a company, get your bosses, get their bosses, get your team members to start giving you quotes about your phenomenal work. That only works if you're giving 5-star quality work. It does not work if you're lazy and you don't do your shit. You got to give a 5-star experience for this to work. Now, I love giving people this one because this works so good. The moment that you do something that's phenomenal and you already know that it's going to blow somebody away. They ask you to do a task and you've already went a way above and beyond. So you already know they're going to love this. Okay. The moment you deliver it and they're going through it and you see that smile on their face, you ask them for a favor. The moment. Okay. It works wonders, Tom. So you start using it. I'm telling you, it works wonders. Why? They're happy. They got the work. They love the work. And then you're going to say, hey, would you do me a favor? The answer is never no. Never. It's always, what do you need? How can I help? You say, hey, can you send me a video testimonial of what I just did? And just say your experience, what you loved about it, blah, blah, blah. They're always happy to do it. You take that, you transcribe it, boom, and then you have them posted on your Google reviews, or your LinkedIn, your Facebook. You just have them copy and paste it everywhere, okay? Your Upwork profile, everywhere that you got your avatar, you want them posting that review. Does that make sense? And you do that over and over and over and over and over. Okay, that's step 2. So you're building up your credentials and your credibility. You build up your credibility by getting validations from other people. When we go to a restaurant we ain't never been, what do? We look at the reviews. When we're buying a product, what do? We look at the reviews. You want to get your review game up, all right? Then number 3, tactically, and I'm not going to go above 3. Once you've done this, I'm going to tell you to start becoming a master networker, okay? Why? When I first started building my personal brand, Tom, I wasn't doing omnipresent marketing. Cauvee, what's omnipresent marketing? I'm glad you asked. Omnipresent marketing is you're on all platforms at the same time. Yeah. You're trying to be on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, LinkedIn. Don't do it. Don't do it in the beginning. Don't do it until you got a team. Do one and focus on one only. That is the difference of what I was saying about skills, and that does not translate over from skills to platforms. Those are different. Platforms, you want to be on one. I was on LinkedIn. That's where I started. So once I started building my brand on LinkedIn, and I got my reviews and did all that already, I started networking with high-level people. Now, I can't give all my trade secrets, but all I'll say is I have a very unique way to get people who a lot of people might admire, like a Gary Vee or a Lewis Howes or a fill in the blank, whoever, to get them to engage, and to engage in a way where you know it's not their VA, because it's a little harder to train a VA on something that doesn't come quite so often. Okay. And once I do that, get them to connect. My very first one was actually Lewis Howes. Okay. The reason why I use this, we're not friends now, but we were friends at that time. Obviously, he had the School of Greatness. and school. He still has the School of Greatness, and School of Greatness brings on so many people that are doing phenomenal things in the world, from entertainment to business to you name it, coaches, what have you. So on LinkedIn, the way LinkedIn works for those that aren't on LinkedIn, and I would hope all your following is on LinkedIn specifically for what y'all do. But on LinkedIn, there's degree connections. First degree means me and Tom, we're actually connected. Second degree is all Tom's friends who are not my friends. That's a second degree. Third degree means we have no degrees of separate, no 7 degrees of separation. Like there's no connection nowhere. So what happens is when people from Lewis Howes's network go to my page, they see Lewis Howes's face pop up. Oh shit! Cauvee knows Lewis Howes. Oh, click add. Okay. And I kept doing that. And I kept doing that and doing that and doing that. I did it so much that Beyonce's dad is in the network. I kid you not. No lies. So you keep doing that. And then again, that opens up opportunities. And I started doing this with athletes. I started doing this with influencers and boom, boom, boom. And at that time, I was going to build an influencer network and do some brand deals and all that. But I'm not doing that now. But my point of that is the principle of that idea still works. So why is that important if you're an entrepreneur? Every company has a hierarchy of how it's structured. Your executive level, then it's going to be your senior management and on down. Okay. You want to start getting executive level credentials. I know that's not talked about much. Why? Because the people that function at the highest level of a company also have usually the most reach, the most influence, the most people that boom, boom, boom. So I feel people, it's hard to, now this is, I'll be honest, this is hard to do as an entrepreneur. I'm not going to front you. It is hard to do, but it's doable. Again, if you're shining in the workplace, you're going to shine. And so a good CEO, COO, CMO, all the O's, they want to see in the department in which they run, they want to see quality workers, and they want to see workers stand out. Why? Because they want their business to be successful. So if you are being that person, whether y'all do team functions or company functions or whatever, figure out a way to get to the executive level and have a conversation. These will stand out in their mind. And as you're building those relationships and you're adding those on LinkedIn, then when other companies come and look at your LinkedIn, they're like, oh, you know, the chief marketing officer of X brand. It still works the same. Why does this junior or maybe senior level worker have a lot of these executive level connections? That's interesting. That's interesting by itself. And if you got a trail of breadcrumbs going back to the level of work you do, it's a no-brainer at that point. So I just wanted to share that. That's how you do it as an entrepreneur and as an entrepreneur. If you are, I want to say one last thing. If you're a little bit nervous and fearful of going that high up they're not as accessible. So I understand it's a lot harder to connect with these folks. But if you're intimidated by that, do it with your manager first, and then go to the next one and do it to his boss, and get an introduction. You want to start building that camaraderie amongst the company, and they want to do it anyway. Yeah. So there you go.
That's it. That's exactly how networking works, right? It's just like you start with your first connections and then go to the second connections, and like you build out that way, right? You don't just go to like a third connection straight off the bat. It's like it makes no sense.
If there's ways to jump, but you got to be really strategic. You got to be really good. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, you're going to go to the level that you're familiar with and or know, and then you're going to go one more bump. But I don't want to mislead anybody. You can jump, because like I said, I am Cauvee, lovingly to myself, is not on the level of Lewis Howes yet. So you can jump. You just got to have a right strategy in order to do that.
For sure. That definitely makes sense. I think it's massively overlooked, like those two things, right? Is like networking as well as positioning yourself, and like how you actually show up, getting reviews, for example, like you mentioned. Like people just don't do this stuff. And I think if you do it, even just to a small degree, like you're instantly just going to stand out a lot like easier than most people that are out there. Like 98% of people aren't doing that. So if you can just be part of that 2% that is actually taking the time to get some kind of reviews from jobs and projects and like whatever you have going on, as well as then networking your way to other people, like you just get so much more opportunities. And It's actually one of the things that I have in my program that I teach people when they're looking for remote work. Like the first thing I tell people to do is leverage their network. Like ask around the people you already know and find what job opportunities are already out there. Instead of going out of your way to like send new applications, like first leverage your network, the people you already know, the people you're already connected with. So I think that's such a powerful part of it as well. What else would you kind of share around like personal branding and I guess kind of standing out and creating influence? That seems like the key to it all, right? Like the reason why you create personal brand is because you create some kind of influence or you want some kind of influence. What does that kind of, yeah, anything you kind of want to add on top of that that would kind of assist?
Yeah, man. This one gets talked about a lot, and I want to be very upfront. This is super hard to do, and I do say hard because we're so programmed not only by the culture that the company you work for is wanting to implement, if assuming you're working for the company. Um, People are so used to this is my work life and this is my personal life, and they're separate. So what you'll hear a lot, the common cliche is show up as your authentic self. Okay. I'm going to say you've got to be very wise and have discernment with how you do that if you work at a company. Okay. If you do not work at a company, you definitely want to be your fullest authentic self. Now, here's why. I would say for me, one of the most dynamic personal brands who I love, who I connect to. I mean, he slapped somebody on at a Grammy and people still love him, right? It's Will Smith. He's got a he's charming, he's funny, he does these action things. He's got a lot of wisdom that he puts on his pages as far as like his Instagram goes, and quotes and motivation and inspiration, things of that nature. We love his projects. He's got a very, very magnetic personal brand, and most personal brands do. Right? It's not. I'm not saying like Will Smith's magnetism is different from those who like Donald Trump and do that whole thing. I'm just saying me, Cauvee, as a person that's a student and a fan, Will Smith's brand is one of the brands that I've kind of put as one of my own as a flavor. Think of it like flavors that you're going to take, right? Or not take, use. When you're a musician and you make a song like Kanye West, right? He's a big sampler. He likes to sample beats, and we call it sampling. And you're taking all these other songs and you're making a new production because you sample from here and sample from there. A lot of comedians do this. Entertainment, this is a very common thing to look at something before you and then kind of do this in the entertainment world. In the business world, they call it modeling. Find something, Russell Brunson's huge on this, right? Find something that's already designed the way you're trying to do it and then build a model, right? When you're building your personal brand, or let me say it this way. When as an artist, because they go side by side, hand in hand. As an artist, you don't know your own voice because you haven't sang enough to know how you sound. So for those that really know music, when R. Kelly came out, he sounded like Aaron Hall. My mind telling me no, but my body. The way he's singing, because he was listening to Aaron Hall at the time, and he was mimicking that style. Or over time, over years, Drake sounded like Lil Wayne when he first came out, right? A lot of people's like, man, is that Lil Wayne? Sounds like Lil Wayne. Same thing in the personal branding world. You don't necessarily know how you are yet because it's kind of new. You're like, well, I don't know really. Like a lot of people do the like headshot photo with like a color behind their headshot and energy or whatever. You won't know what is you fully until you really study other personal brands, right? Grant Cardone is a little direct and he's like in your face. Gary Vee, David Goggins, these are people that are in your face. Then you got people that are a little bit more laid back, a little bit more light. Then you got people that are more funny. You got people more. My point of this is you're not going to really know. But the key is this. Don't be inauthentic to who you are. So what I try to do, or not try to do, what I did do and what I am, when I'm in a business meeting talking to a 65-year-old venture capitalist, I still say the words like dope. I'm like, oh, that's dope. And I don't try to change. I don't try to be like, oh, that'd be really great. That'd be really awesome. I don't know. I don't talk like that. I'm like, that's dope. That's what I say. That's the kind of shit I say. Now, do you think Jay-Z changes who he is when he goes talk to Roger Goodell? No. he's still Jay-Z. So my point of that is that principle works. It doesn't matter. But you got to know how to do it. I'm not saying don't be professional. I'm not saying lose your lack of professionalism being yourself. You got to know the line. what I'm saying is don't be a shell of yourself or inauthentic to yourself to appease to someone else, because that will eventually over time you won't like yourself, trust me. So you really want to just be you, but you will need to study other successful personal brands that you admire to just kind of find your own voice, then to find your own style. And then for those that really want to go deep and have like branding guidelines and all the things that come with being a brand, and then doing that. So yeah, that is another little piece of helpful advice as far as the branding journey goes. Stay authentic to who you truly are, and don't step outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it makes it easier to stay authentic. When you mentioned like taking different flavors from different people, like I think it makes it more authentic when you're taking those flavors from people that you are kind of similar to in a sense. Like they kind of have a similar vibe about them as to you, and you're kind of taking a bit of their flavor, which is still authentically you in a way, right? So it's not like
Yeah,
totally just ripping something off.
yeah, no, definitely not ripping nothing off. You might copycat for a season though, just to try,
Mm.
because you're learning, you're still learning. Um, I'll say it this way too. You want to start being able to be a great chameleon. Chameleon is an
Mm.
amazing animal, right? If I go in the hood in the ghetto, I can talk with those guys and vibe. I can go into, like I said, a very golf club oriented with my attire, show up like me, and people will be like, "Where'd you get your MBA?" And I'll be like, "I ain't never got a degree in my life." Right? I can adjust, I can blend, right? Same thing with cultures. Culture is another thing because we got people that work across the world. When I'm in Mexico, you think I talk English a lot? No. Am I fluent in Spanish? No. But I know enough Spanish to get by to where I can chameleon in, and then I use Google Translate or something like that to get the rest of the way. So to them, that's like, oh, like people respect that. They respect when you are you. They respect when you honor them. And so you're honoring them by being you. And you're honoring yourself because you're not being a facade. You're you. So people that do like gimmicks and things like that as a personal brand, that don't align with me. Like I get it, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Dave Chappelle with his hey, how you doing? And he talked like and this nasally sound, right? He did a lot of his skits with a very nasally sound. That was part of his gimmick. I love Dave Chappelle, but the voice, right? He don't really talk like that. But my point of all that is, again, if you're doing something that feels inauthentic and I think a better word is genuine. Are you being genuine, or are you being fake and phony? You know the difference.
Mm.
Don't do it. And that's really what I want to sit on for a lot of people.
Mm. I love it. Man, that's perfect, perfect, perfect. Well, I think that's a good spot to wrap this up. I think there's been a lot of juicy stuff in here. So yeah, just wanted to ask you, like, is there any last little bits of things you want to share? Anything else you kind of didn't have a chance to share that you want to share?
Yeah, a couple things. So I shared a lot about my journey getting up to this point. There's a lot more to share. I'm about to be 40 years old and I'm about to be a pro basketball player. That's crazy.
Hey.
Crazy. Crazy. Never would have thought that would have come back around it from a 14-year-old childhood dream. Um, one, I'm gonna say a couple things and I'm gonna end with a nugget. We'll close on that. Um, Things that are coming out that you'll see from Cauvee in time. I'm also the founder of a product called Motivation Music. So it is a music specifically designed for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. So imagine listening to Eminem, or I don't even know who you rock with, right? But we ain't talking about nonsense. We're talking about business related things, but it has a sound or makes you think about Eminem or Drake or Kanye or somebody of that nature, right? But they're talking about business concepts. It's a new thing. It's exciting, and we got a lot of stuff coming out gradually for that. Um, the nugget that I want to leave you with, I learned at a very early age. I got lucky. I found what I wanted to do for the rest of my life very early. A lot of people don't get that nugget so soon. So I realized that I was fortunate there. But the biggest thing that I learned is that it doesn't matter what you do, and it doesn't matter how successful you are. And I say this because I listen to people who are successful, like Mark Cuban was talking about. He don't know anything about real estate. He doesn't know anything about real estate. He's trying to do a casino deal in Dallas, Texas right now. And so there's people that are like, you can't do that, Mark. It doesn't, he's Mark Cuban. Go figure. So my point of this is, if you're doing something that is uncommon, non-traditional, you have to remember that not only 85% of people hate speaking, 85% of people, there's a study done that 85% of people hate their job or hate what they do for a living. And majority of people spend majority of their time where? At work.
Mm.
So when you go outside of the norm, there's going to be a ton of people that tell you like that's stupid or you're crazy or I wouldn't do that or blah blah. Just find mentors like Tom or Cauvee or whatever you're trying to do. Find mentors and people that can support you in that, people that are doing that, because that's who you want to be around, not the naysayers and the people that want to stay in the black and white. You want to be around people in the gray and doing amazing things. So yeah, so never let somebody tell you what you can't do. And last but not least, you can find me on all things. Just Cauvee, Cauvee. I'm most active on LinkedIn, so reach out to me on LinkedIn. And it's been a pleasure, been an honor to serve you. And let me know when you reach out. Hey, I heard you on Talent's podcast, or let me know what stood out, what nuggets resonated, so I know what caught your ear. And again, it's been a pleasure to serve you guys and be with you today.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you sharing your insights and wisdom. I'm sure there's some value that people have got from this. So yeah, thanks for jumping on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate y'all. Be good. Boost.
Boom.